Swamin namaste natalokabandho karunya sindho patitam bhavabdhau mamuddharatmiya kataksha drishtya rijvyati karunya sudhabhivrishya. Swamin namaste, Swamin namaste, Swamin namaste, Swamin namaste. Jnanasvarupam nijabhavayuktam Anandamanandakaram prasannam Yogindramedhyam bhavarogavadyam Srimadgurum nityamaham namami Srimadgurum nityamaham namami. Nityaya satyaya chidatmakaya navyaya bhavyaya paratparaya shuddhaya buddhaya niranjanaya namostu nityam Guru Shekharaya. Namostu nityam Guru Shekharaya. Namostu nityam Guru Shekharaya. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru. So Ramlata said that I should say something about Swamiji's health. So I'm thinking what I should say. Because just now before coming, I was having lot of discussion with Swamiji, pleading with him that he should take rest. A person who had had so much of bleeding, 3 pints of blood has been transfused, maybe some more were necessary, even now the hemoglobin is less. It's only 2 days that he has been discharged, but such a patient normally would be lying on the bed. We do not want Swamiji to lie on the bed, but definitely we want him to take a little more rest. And maybe silently doing his work, let him do his work. But he has been constantly talking since morning. So I was pleading with him and telling him that he being the most intelligent person, he should understand that the body will need time to recover. And we feel so when Swamiji himself says that body is actually, inside the body is very, very weak. Although he says that although he is moving around, but inside he has been sucked out. So naturally I was asking, that when you say like this, we feel helpless. And Swamiji says, you should not feel helpless. So what to do? So this is what I can tell about Swamiji's health. And what he says, I understand. This is what a self-realized person will be talking about and feeling about his health. He is above this body consciousness. He is always resting within himself, in his self. He is Atma Ramaha. So in all conditions, he is actually seated in his self. As long as the body has a little bit of strength, a self-realized person will try to help others and do his normal duties and routines. From the time Swamiji fell sick, I was thinking today when I was coming for this program, I was thinking the last session that I had with you, I was explaining to you in the very beginning the very happy and joyous atmosphere here, because the next day was Pujya Swamiji's birthday. And we all prepared, arranged, and we got up in the morning. Only some of us knew what has happened. It was quite full of anxiety for us, because after 17 years, Swamiji has had this bleed. It was in 2005, while he was in Malaysia for a Jnana Yajna, giving lectures, that he had a severe melena, and ultimately an emergency surgery had to be done, where the duodenum was removed along with part of the stomach. And all these 17 years, there was no worry about a second bleed. And this, when it came on 13th, we knew something serious is going to happen. But as we have learned from Swamiji, and we keep on learning, with all that anxiety and uncertainty, what will be the next step, what the doctors will say, how long of hospitalization, where to take him, the function went on. And the function went on smoothly. Even when Swamiji was being taken, all those who have seen him getting into the ambulance, held by others, nobody could say that he was having bleeding inside. And all the days that have passed. You all have got, and mostly many of you have got the updates, and I think in the last session, in Nutan Swamiji's session, Namrata has also explained the hospitalization, what all had happened. So I'm not going to repeat that. I only want to say this much, that only when we stay near such a self-realized person and observe him in his activities as well as in his sickness, when he is lying, his body is in trouble. If we observe and be near him, we understand how quiet is the person inside. Absolute silence. I've been sitting in the hospital near his bed when Swamiji has been taking rest, closing his eyes, or just closing his eyes, maybe not sleeping. At other times, and I have felt the silence. In fact, one day when I was sitting by Swamiji's side, and Swamiji looked up, opened his eyes and saw me sitting there, he said, "Ma, you know, it is very silent here, very, very silent. I'm feeling it. And since I am on the bed, even in the ICU, when Swamiji had to stay alone, Swamiji was telling me that day, when I was in the ICU with nobody around me, I was feeling the silence and the luminosity, a luminous presence as if I am. So these utterances and observing a Swamiji who is actually suffering, bleeding, being treated, undergoing many procedures. When he says this, And seeing him interacting with the doctors, the nurses, the housekeeping people, the canteen manager who used to come and take down the order for Swamiji's food. With all of them, how he was interacting, forgetting himself, his problems, and the love for people would be only expressed. I think many of the doctors, they never expected, and they felt very happy when Swamiji touched their chest and patted them, touched their cheeks and patted them. Not only the doctors, the others also. These scenes were very nice to see. I have only thought during this period very much that how much we are blessed to be in the company of a self-realized Mahatma, and also thought how much more we have to learn, how much more we have to come up to what he wants us to be. That has filled my mind mostly. And in that sickness also, how everything was lighted, everything was bright. I was listening to Nathan Swamiji's talk on 24th, last Tuesday, and he told that very beautiful shloka of Yoga Vasistha. Shunyamakiirnatameti mrityurapyutsabhayate apat sampadiva bhati vidvajjana samagami. And actually I was feeling exactly such an apt shloka, and how it has come to Nathan Swamiji's mind at that time to tell all of you, this is what one should feel, one feels, one should yearn to feel in the presence of a Mahatma. Actually, a man who has realized his own identity, his Atma, and he actually drinks undiluted bliss of the self. There is nothing more pleasurable for him, exhilarating for him, than the quietude that comes to him because of his realization of his own self. In Vivekachudamani, there are many shlokas which describes such a realized Mahatma. And in one of them it is Gaccham stishtan upavishan shayano vanyathapiva yathechaya vased vidvan atma ramaha sadamani. Gaccham stishtan upavishan shayano vanyathapiva yathechaya vased vidvan atma ramaha sadamani. The illumined self who has realized his self. His only pleasure is in his self. Atma Ramaha. He is Atma Ramaha. He ever lives at ease. while, whether he is gachan, where he is going, tishtan, whether he is staying or sitting, staying, wherever he is, upavishan, sitting, or lying, shayanaha, whatever he does, or in any other condition, he is always Atma Ramaha. He always dwells in his self, rejoices in his self. That is what we can always see in any realized self. When we see Swamiji in his active time and other time when he takes rest, also when he is sick. He has fallen sick many times and we have seen him. This was very special. Another one, as I said, was in Malaysia 17 years back, which was full of concern for us. We saw this. But at the same time, because of the same nature, when the body becomes a little better, they forget that they have to take rest. Whoever comes in front, they want to help the person. So I have been telling in these days to many of us, many of the people who are here, before I also went to the hospital to be there, that we should remember this and we ourselves should try to give rest to Swamiji, not expect that he would talk to us or he would be sitting with us giving a lecture. We should not, for some time at least. Telephoning, bringing many important matters, administrative matters to him, where his decisions, his comments, his suggestions, his advice are necessary. I feel that for some time we should keep him away from that. Although I know very well that Swamiji will not agree with what I am saying at all. He would like to do what he does. So I will go back to Prabhata Rashmi. Today when I was thinking what I should speak, I was thinking of Swamiji's sickness. You know, these days, the last session and this session, so many days have passed, and those were very hectic days for us, days of lot of anxiety and concern. And we are so happy that Swamiji is recovering. Diagnosis was there, treatment has been done, and he is getting better. All that I told you just now, I feel that when we talk about a realized self, realized soul, a realized Mahatma, and we say that he is beyond the body consciousness, he is always rejoicing in his own self, he is self-seated. Why is it so? It is because of the purity. And where from that purity comes? The purity comes because of desirelessness. Because of desirelessness, because of egolessness, because of lack of possessiveness. That is the nature of a realized soul. And for any seeker, any sadhaka, that should be our aim, to become pure. And I think for the last quite a few sessions, I have been taking this sattva guna, what is the actual sadhana to grow in Sattvaguna, to grow in purity. So I found out one Prabhatarashmi where Swamiji has talked about earnestness in seeking purity. We have been discussing how any seeker must grow in Sattvaguna as far as grow beyond the Rajoguna and Tamoguna should be removed and Sattvaguna should be increased. So, a person, a sadhaka, a seeker, should have this earnestness, the wholesomeness in growing purity. So what is this purity? I just now said it is desirelessness, egolessness, lack of possessiveness. So Swamiji has spoken one day in Prabhatarashmi. He first chants this shloka. Nanya spriha raghupate hridaye smadiye satyam vadami cha bhavan akhilantaratma bhaktim prayacha raghupungava nirbharam me kamadi dosha rahitam kurumanasam cha. This is a composition by Saint Sant Tulsidas in Ramcharitamanas. He says, O Raghupate, in my heart there is no other desire. Na anya spriha. No other desire is there in my heart. I am speaking the truth. That there is no other desire, I am saying, it is the truth. Satyam vadami. Satyam vadami cha bhavan akhilantaratma. You, being the inner self of all, you know it well. Being the inner self, what I am thinking, that I truly feel that I do not want anything else. You must be understanding it, O Raghupate. Now the question is, I do not want anything else. So something he must be wanting. What is that? So he says, Bhaktim prayacha raghupungava nirbharam me. I want nothing else except bhakti. What kind of bhakti? Nirbhara bhakti, unflinching devotion. A devotion which is steady, which doesn't flicker, unwavering, unflinching devotion. People have devotion, but whenever something happens which they do not like, they become depressed. There is doubt in their devotion for God. He says, I want to have such devotion which, whatever may be my condition, I will have unwavering, unflinching devotion. Bhaktim prayacha. And also, he says, that unflinching devotion, how can it be? Only when there is no desire in the mind. The devotion also becomes wavers. Devotion also becomes less. Why? When somebody wants something, they will pray, and suppose the prayer is not fulfilled, what happens? Then one feels that, oh, what is the use of my devotion, my prayer? My prayer was not fulfilled. It is not like that. This devotee is saying, I want unwavering devotion. So for unwavering devotion to take place, to be in the mind, one must not have any kind of desire. Kamadi dosha rahitam. He says that make my mind free of all kind of desires. Kama adi, that is desires, etc. desire, possessiveness, ego, and what not. Many things are there which make our mind agitated, disturbed, afflicted. All that I do not want. I want to be desireless so that my bhakti becomes unwavering. So he says this. So Swamiji first chanted this shloka. In this shloka, then he is telling, in this shloka, the power and potency of devotion are evident. A number of seekers and enquirers come to this ashram. They have the benefit of satsang. When they leave the ashram, they should take with them the richness of such prayers and imbibe the associated culture of devotion. So Swamiji is saying this kind of shlokas, it has the power and potency of devotion. It's a very beautiful. The devotee is actually calling out to God and saying that, "Oh God, oh Raghupate, I do not want anything else." People keep on asking for things. So many worldly things, worldly objects, name, fame, property, health, wife, children, many things. But he is saying, I don't want anything. I want to be desireless so that I have unwavering devotion for you. So Swamiji is talking about how his background has been. He says, somehow, right from early childhood, I used to recite such simple prayers and in a manner which I later understood to be wholesome. Wholesome devotion, not mere wholesome prayer. Even though I was brought up in an atmosphere of devotion and was nourished by it, the problem before my mind was to get over the restlessness that I had in those early days. Swamiji is talking about his younger days when the mind was restless, as is quite normal for everybody. And although he was brought up in a devotional atmosphere, the background was devotional and religious, still he had restlessness. And later on I came to know that the way out was to gain Brahmajnana or realization of God. And only later on he understood that to transcend this restlessness of the mind, to be peaceful, to be unaffected, one must have Atma Jnana or Brahma Jnana, that is, realization of the self or God. I always think that a devotional background is certainly helpful. In devotion, the devotee makes God his focus for everything. To get whatever you want, you look to God and pray to God. To get rid of whatever you do not want, you look to the same God. So, Swamiji is saying that a background where one grows up being devoted to God is very helpful. So we pray to God for whatever is to be removed from our mind, the impurities, and for gaining purity also, we look to God. Just in this shloka, the devotee is calling out to God, praying to God, saying that, please give me unflinching devotion. And also saying what? Kamadi dosha rahitam kuru. And please take away from my mind. One is, give me bhakti. Bhaktim prayacha. Give me bhakti. And take away kamadi dosha. So, both the prayers are to the same God. One is wanting pure bhakti, another is taking away of desires, etc. You should want a pure mind and should like to have greater and greater purity. This must be your prayer, your sankalpa. My dear children, I am reading this Prabhatarashmi. I had asked for some feedback. So some of you said that, Ma, please continue reading this Prabhatarashmi. Because when we are reading, and when you are reading and explaining, we are understanding more deeply. When I read it, I also find so many things to be understood. And each line is a gem, something to be pursued by any seeker, any sadhaka, every moment. So what is Swamiji saying? You should want a pure mind and should like to have greater and greater purity. This must be your prayer, your sankalpa, your resolve. In the language of devotion, making God as the focus, you should always pray to God and earnestly request Him that you should have more and more purity. Again I will say, maybe some of you are listening for the first time, or you might have forgotten. What is this purity? Purity is desirelessness. Purity is egolessness. Purity is lack of possessiveness. Purity is lack of impatience, intolerance, dislike, hatred, finding fault with others, criticizing others, being judgmental, being grumbling. All these impurities, all these traits make our mind what? Agitated, disturbed, not restful, completely restless. So what is purity? When all these go away, the mind becomes absolutely calm, pure, transparent. And in that transparence, purity, the self shines. It shines. It reveals. So purity is the aim. My dear children, many times we have been discussing this, that we learn very high philosophical concepts and we feel exhilarated, ecstatic. We feel we are transported to those states. But actually in life, we have to start with these things. As a seeker, as a sadhaka, purity of the mind. Gain the good qualities which will make your mind restful. Remove them, reject such traits which makes the mind suffer, makes the mind disturbed. This is what we have to do as a seeker. So Swamiji is saying this again. You should want a pure mind and should like to have greater and greater purity. This must be your prayer, your sankalpa. In the language of devotion, making God as the focus, you should always pray to God and earnestly request Him that you should have more and more purity. Tell me, is your mind filled with this kind of a prayer? Assess yourself. If you are a seeker, if you are a sadhaka, while reading this you must assess, am I thinking like this? Or is my mind filled with many other thoughts which are absolutely wasteful, meaningless most of the time? Most of the time. Maybe always not. So for a sadhaka, this sankalpa should fill the mind, fill the full existence. The question is whether you are conscious of this need. If so, do you intensely look for it? Do you intensely look for it? Is what Swamiji is saying. Assess yourself. So many of you are listening. You have been listening. My lecture is the 80th one. That is, all of us have come to the 80th lecture. And we are constantly telling this. And many of you are writing to us. Those letters are very good. You write about your improvements, about how you feel now, how your attitude has changed. But still, don't stop there. You cannot be complacent. Assess yourselves and see, do I intensely look for it or do I intensely look for something else? Whether you pray to God or appeal to yourself, it makes little difference. See, many are there who cannot think of God. They can think of the self or maybe the impersonal existence, cannot think of a God. By God, when Swamiji is also talking of God, he is actually not talking of the deities whom we call God. God is that impersonal, the one who is all-pervading, omnipresent, omniscient, all-powerful. He is the one from where the whole world comes up. He is the one who sustains and in whom everything dissolves. In Bhagavad Gita, that shloka is there. I'll take it again. Gatir Bharta Prabhu Sakshi. I don't remember it. I forget these days. Where is that? 9.18. Gatit Bharta Prabhu Sakshi Nivasas Sharanam Surit Prabhava Pralayasthanam Nidhanam Bijam Abhyayam Gatir Bharta Prabhu Sakshi Nivasas Sharanam Surit Prabhava Pralayasthanam Nidhanam Bijam Abhyayam. The Supreme is the goal, the sustainer, the Lord, and the witness. Gatihi, Bharta, Prabhuhu, Sakshi, Nivasaha, Sharanam, Surit. It is the ultimate abode, Nivasaha, refuge, Sharanam. Surit, benefactor, friend. The source, Prabhavaha. And Pralayaha, terminus. Sthanam, substratum. And the treasure house, Nidhanam, and the imperishable seed of all, Bijam Abhyayam. And there are many other descriptions. So, the God who is all-pervading, the one who exists, one who alone is, who is everywhere, in everything, every moment, in everything he is, he permeates. As he is outside, so he is inside, that God. So, our prayer should be to that God. Whether you pray to God or appeal to yourself, the same God is inside you. If you do not want to even say the word God, you appeal to yourself. It's the same, the self, the soul. It makes little difference. The act of desiring, wanting or wishing always belongs to you. Whether you want it, whether you wish it, whether you desire it, or whether you will make effort for it, it's all up to us. It is the intensity and wholesomeness of the will that matters. That is, what is the will? Whether I want purity or not. today something is special in this hall. So Swamiji also came along with me before I started. And Swamiji was asking me, what are you going to talk today? So I said, Swamiji, you know that I am reading out from Prabhatarashmi. And every time I read a Prabhatarashmi, I will run to Swamiji and say, beautiful, Swamiji, you have told so beautifully, you have explained so beautifully. That reminds me, in the hospital, when Swamiji became a little better, the second bleed was there. The doctors found out that there was a ulcer which was hidden, which they could not see in the first endoscopy, but they found out in the second endoscopy. They blocked it, closed it, and everybody expected that the bleeding will stop, and it stopped. But the doctors wanted to observe Swamiji. So after that day, Swamiji was slowly becoming better. When he became better, as I started my talk today telling about Swamiji that he is not taking rest, there also, he was not lying on the patient's bed. Even when the doctors are coming, they are seeing Swamiji, how Swamiji is reading Bhagavatam. He asked for the Bhagavatam book from the ashram. Every day our car used to go to and fro to Cochin. So the Bhagavatam was taken and Swamiji was reading the 7th skandha, Prahlada episode. So I said, why are you reading? And he would make me also sit there and chant along with him. So I was saying, why are you reading this Prahlada episode? You know it so well. Swamiji said, no. I want to start from Hiranyakashipu. All those things I don't remember very well. So he was reading. Then at one time I found that he has taken a paper from, I don't know who gave the paper, one A4 sheet type, and he is writing something. Swamiji has an orange pen. He signs with an orange pen. So with that orange pen, that pen was taken because books were being given to the doctors. He was signing with that orange pen. With that pen alone, he is writing in very small letters, that to Malayalam, but I can read Malayalam. So after some writing 4 lines, he said, can you read it? You read. So I said that such small letter I cannot read. Then Swamiji read himself. Then he said that I am writing one Sanskrit shloka. So he started writing Sanskrit shloka. Actually, that shloka was in Sanskrit only, but he was writing in Malayalam script and was asking me to read. The letters were very small. So then he said, okay, I will write for you in Sanskrit, Devanagari. So then, this is what he was doing. And after he wrote everything, I read, and he said, do you understand the meaning? Whatever I did not understand, he explained. It's a very, very beautiful sloka. So, taking his pen, I wrote very good and signed and gave the date. So Swamiji was smiling. So when he asked me today, what are you going to say? I said, purity, Swamiji. I am going to read out about purity. Then Swamiji said, tell them, that is, tell whom? You all, to whom I am addressing now. Tell them that if anybody wants purity, they must want purity, intensely want, wholesomely want. So I told Swamiji, both of us were walking, and I was following him actually. I told Swamiji, this one sentence you have told me long back, when I had asked you, Swamiji, how to become pure you had told me, love purity and purity will be yours. This sentence I have told many times. My dear children, all this scene is coming to my mind and so I am narrating. This is what he has been telling. And what does he say here? This has been told. This is a Prabhat Rashmi of 1998. I think tirelessly, relentlessly, Swamiji keeps on saying this, the same thing, again and again, again and again. He never feels tired. Tirelessly he says, it is for us to understand. It is for us to become wholesome. It is for us to make a resolve in oneself and think that all the undesirable, impure traits that I have, I should remove. And I should bring in and strengthen the pure qualities. Whether you pray to God or appeal to yourself, it makes little difference. The act of desiring, wanting, or wishing always belongs to you. It is the intensity and wholesomeness of the will that matters. So, if you want purity, and if you insist upon it, if you earnestly pray for it, you will get purity. If you want purity, and if you insist upon it, if you earnestly pray for it, you will get purity. Exactly this, today when Swamiji was coming and I was following him, he was telling the same thing. We call it a prayer when it is addressed to God. We call it a sankalpa when you look to yourself to generate it. That is the resolve. We can pray to God like this devotee, what Sant Tulsidas has written, calling out God, saying that I have no other desire. The only desire is that I must have nirbhara bhakti, unwavering bhakti, and all the dosha, the impurities like desire, etc., should go from me, from my mind. That is a prayer. And when we take a resolve, that is a sankalpa. That we take a resolve and take a sankalpa in ourselves that I will get rid of all the impurities that disturb me, torment me, give me suffering, and does not allow me to be peaceful. I will remove all of them. How will I do? I have to be attentive to what are the things, what are the traits which make me suffer. That is sadhana. We call it a prayer when it is addressed to God. We call it a sankalpa when you look to yourself to generate it. Why is my mind so impure? That is, when we have a sankalpa, we need not pray. Some people are not able to pray to God. I hear so. Actually, I have been praying to God. Not pray, actually, I have been talking to God. God has been my friend from my childhood. I have told it many times, again I will say. By just one habit which my mother had told me to do, told all the siblings. Pray, talk to God, pray to God, saying that, amake bhalo karo, amake bhalo meye karo, make me a good girl. That what is that good I could not understand when I was young, when I was a child. So whole day sometimes I will forget, and night when I will lie down I will remember, oh, I have not prayed to God. So I will just fold my hands and do my prayer that make me good. Later I understood good means all good qualities. And then because of that started talking to God. God became my friend. God is the one with whom I would be quarreling. I would have all my complaints. Sometimes I will say that you never came for my rescue. I was feeling afraid. So God became a companion. So I feel sometimes when some people say that we cannot pray to God, it is something strange to me. But maybe then, so for them is the sankalpa which you make to yourself. That is what Swamiji is saying. We call it a sankalpa. When you look to yourself to generate it. And how we should do? Why is my mind so impure? The one who has taken to a sankalpa that I want purity, I will do everything to become pure. So how much of introspection is necessary? How much of alertness is necessary? How much of attention is necessary? And first of all, one must look into oneself to understand what are the impurities. So that any such sadhaka, the one who prays, one who makes a sankalpa, both should feel like this. Why is my mind so impure? When we should think, suppose I have become very angry. I have angrily talked to somebody. Next should come this line in our mind. Why this impurity of getting angry so often? Why this impurity of getting irritated? Why this impurity of disliking somebody, hating somebody? Why this impurity of finding fault with somebody, blaming somebody, criticizing somebody? Why this impurity of intolerance, impatience? Why? When will they go? This should be the talk to God or whoever, your own self. These thoughts should come. A person who wants purity and feels that I will do anything to become pure. There are so many opportunities in this whole day, in our interactions, our actions, our behavior, our thoughts. We get all the opportunities to find out that there are certain traits which we should remove. So why is my mind so impure? Will I not have purity? What prevents me from becoming pure? When will that good day come when my mind will behave in a pure manner? These are the thoughts a seeker should have. If you persist in this line of thinking, you will surely gain purity. I can tell from my own experience, whenever I have felt that some behavior or something has not been all right, there has been always a feeling, let me have the same situation very soon so that I can become better. I can prove myself better. That is, the mind is feeling that what I thought or I did or my action was not all right. I do not want to be like that. I want to be better. So how will I understand whether I am better or not? Another incident like that should come in front of me so that I can prove myself whether I have succeeded or not. Whenever impure thoughts come, you have to first observe them, reflect upon them, and register your need to get rid of them. At other moments, you have to look for purity and yearn for it. Whenever impure thoughts come, you have to first observe them, reflect upon them, and register your need to get rid of them. At other moments, you have to look for purity and yearn for it. So the first point is that we must be able to understand that this trait is not good. Any trait which gives torment or disturbance is not good. So first we admit that trait is there in us and then find out how I can remove them. So far as our path is concerned, the devotion should culminate in knowledge. Ishvaranugrahadeva pumsam advaita vasana. Only by the blessing of God, the advaita vasana for non-dual perception, for self-realization can be there. Ishvaranugrahadeva pumsam advaita vasana. For men, this advaita vasana, this self-realization, the vasana or desire for aspiration for non-dual perception, for self-realization can be had only by the blessing of God. So many people are there. They don't take to spirituality. They don't feel the necessity for it. Those who do, like all of you, we are blessed actually. Blessed. And because of God's grace alone, one takes to spiritual path. One starts liking spiritual path, understands that this is a path. If I tread this path, I will become peaceful. There won't be any kind of affliction. So, Ishvaranugrahadeva pumsam advaita vasana. So this knowledge of Brahman is not contradictory or antagonistic to devotion. Ishvara anugrahadeva. By God's grace alone, advaita vasana will arise. Here also, advaita vasana, the aspiration for self-realization, the non-dual knowledge, is because of God's grace. So, it is not something contradictory. Instead, it is always a crowning fulfillment to the path of devotion. In all devotional practices, I think the finale is the sense of total surrender. What is surrender? It is complete resignation of yourself at the altar of divinity, the supreme power and presence, and to depend upon it for everything that you want. Do whatever you like, whatever is necessary, but keep the sense of surrender. That Nitya Yuktata we did for quite some time, always remaining connected to the soul, to the self, to God. To know that God is everywhere, in everything, in every moment. It is God and God alone. To know that nothing belongs to us. We cannot control anything. This whole existence of ours, it is only because of God. All this knowledge we should remember and surrender. Surrender means what? Surrender means what? It is complete resignation. Do everything to the best of your ability. Whatever ability has been given to you, do everything. Not being lethargic, not being idle, not being lazy. Be excellent and do everything that has to be done. All the duties, all the responsibilities. But with a feeling of surrender. That is, accepting what comes and accepting what goes. With the surrender, the feeling that I am not the doer, I am not the enjoyer, I cannot control anything, but whatever ability I have been given, I am working with that. Everything is done by that supreme power. When your heart is turned towards truth, truth also will be looking to you. It is a beautiful reciprocal arrangement. What is this? When we want to have the purity, we want to realize the truth, we want it wholesomely, then truth also will be looking towards us. That is, if we go 2 steps, truth will also come 10 steps towards us. It is a beautiful reciprocal arrangement, Nothing is there in the form of unitary existence in this world. Everything is a resultant of two complementary forces. If you proceed devotionally forward towards God, God or devotion will also proceed spiritually towards you. That is, we devotionally proceed forward towards God. What does that mean? What does that mean? How can we proceed towards God with this prayer? What in the beginning Sant Tulsidas is saying? Nanya spriha raghupate. I don't want anything else. We cannot be saying that I want everything and I also want to go to you. I want everything in the world and also want this spiritual fulfillment. If you proceed devotionally forward towards God, God or devotion will also proceed spiritually towards you. So, tell yourself with all humility and fervor, O God, make me pure. Why is my mind assailed by unwelcome thoughts? Please rid my mind of them. What are these unwelcome thoughts? Desires, expectations. In most cases, that genuine feeling, I do not want anything else, is not there. What is this devotee saying? Nanya spriha raghupate hridaye smadiye satyam vadami cha bhavan akhilantaratma bhaktim prayacha raghupungava nirbharam me कामादिदोषरहितं कुरु मानसं च कामादिदोषरहितं कुरु मानसं च. With whole heart, with all feelings, with full aspiration, with full wholesomeness, this devotee is saying, maybe tears are being shed. What is he saying? My dear children, these are not just 4 lines. That should become yours. If you really want purity, maybe you do not know what is self-realization, but purity of the mind is necessary to live peacefully in the world. To be peaceful in the world, if we have impure thoughts, unwelcome thoughts, the mind will remain agitated, disturbed, peaceless. So these 4 lines that, oh God, I am telling you the truth, I do not want anything else. I want devotion, unflinching devotion, unwavering devotion towards you. Who can fulfill my wish? And what is that? Kamadi dosha rahitam kurumana samcha. And give me unwavering bhakti, nirbhara bhakti, so that I can always rely on you. My reliance should not be disturbed. I should know that it is you and you alone everywhere. That knowledge, that truth should not be disturbed. I should not fall from that knowledge. And also my mind should be rid of kama adi, desires, etc. Desire, ego, possessiveness, etc. So, in most cases, the genuine feeling I do not want is not there. I do not want anything else, that feeling is not there, Swamiji is saying. Assess yourself. See whether the wholesomeness is there or not. That wholesomeness should come. At least, at some time or other, one must feel that all that I have got, it does not give me full peace. What is that in life, gaining which I will be absolutely peaceful? I will not be affected by anything that happens around me. I will be self-seated. I think in most cases, that genuine feeling I do not want is not there. With hypocrisy or in a stealthy and concealed manner, you still want to have other things. You feel it is nice, so let me have. Such thoughts become dominant, and you put forward so many excuses and arguments. That should not be. That is why a seeker should be doing self-introspection, analyzing oneself, assessing oneself, self-introspection. That, okay, this I am hearing, this shloka I am hearing. Am I like this? Do I think like this? Then at what percentage is my devotion? My seeking, where does it stand? What is the percentage? Am I wholesome? If I am not, how can I become wholesome? I am wanting, but I am not being able to. What is preventing me? These are the thoughts. We do a lot of devotional and spiritual exercises, getting up in the morning. Then we'll be taking bath, lighting a lamp, chanting so many shlokas, reading some text, scriptures. Very routinely we will do. By that, introspection doesn't take place. One has to be introspecting and finding out what is hindering the wholesomeness, why the wholesomeness is coming. I am so interested, I aspire, but still, why it is not becoming a wholesome aspiration? I think that in the hearts of genuine and loyal seekers, the growth and blossoming of purity will become very facile. What is he saying? In the hearts of genuine and loyal seekers. This is what, when we read this or you listen to it, these are the words which should go deep into the mind. I cannot think otherwise. Whenever I have read something, I have had these kind of assessments. Genuine. Am I genuine? Am I sincere? Am I loyal? In the hearts of genuine and loyal seekers, the growth and blossoming of purity will become very facile. It is a question of activating your mind, activating your heart with sincerity, with a sense of urge towards purity and its further course. Then there is no question of not meeting with success. What is it? I think that, who is saying this? Swamiji is saying this. I think that in the hearts of genuine and loyal seekers, the growth and blossoming of purity will become very facile. It is a question of activating your mind, activating your heart with sincerity, with a sense of urge towards purity and its further course. Then there is no question of not meeting with success. So, my dear children, what do we understand reading this together? I just read out. I think together we have read it. And it just tells us the way to become wholesome. We may be wanting purity. What Swamiji says, just love wholesomely and sincerely purity. And purity will come. But in doing so, we must have the genuine feelings, sincere aspiration, and assess whether we are so. Why is it that my mind is not becoming pure? All these thoughts should be there. And activate the mind and the heart with sincerity, with a sense of urge towards purity and its further course. And you know what we are saying? We are saying, remove the undesirable traits and bring in and strengthen the desirable one. So undesirable traits we have to remove. Desire we have to remove. Ego we have to remove. We have to remove possessiveness, hatred, dislike, impatience, intolerance, sudden reactions, all these things. So when Swamiji is saying, activate your heart with sincerity, how can you become sincere? Actually, we should go and ask people, please, can you tell me the undesirable traits in my nature? Maybe I am not able to see it myself. Please tell me so that I can remove it. I think any sincere and genuine person, a genuine seeker, should go and ask each and everybody, if you are in the house, if you are in the ashram, the ashramites, please tell me what I have to remove from my nature so that I become purer. That is what I want to become. And if somebody tells you, without becoming annoyed with that person, we should actually touch their feet that you have helped me in understanding what are the traits in me which have to be removed. Then we are genuine. Then we are sincere. Then only we will be able to. You please do it. All of you are in the house. Do it. Father should ask the children. Mother should ask the children. Husband should ask the wife, and vice versa. Ask if you are with your parents-in-law or parents, ask them. Ask each other. Ask your friend. Ask your neighbor. Even ask your maidservant. I'll tell you one thing. Long back, I was in Kharagpur. There used to be one young girl who used to work for us. About 18 years old. She used to do work very well. But I used to like her very much. So I would give some gifts also. Her one thing was that she would take lot of leave. So, and without telling. So I will be in trouble. So sometimes when she would not come, her mother would come. So when one day she had not come and mother had come, mother was not working so well and she was very slow, so I had to do a lot of work along with her also. So I was doing work also, helping that lady, and then I told her, I like your daughter very much. She works also very well. I really like her. But she always puts me in trouble by suddenly taking leave and not coming for work. I give her so many gifts. I feel happy when she gets any gift from me. She becomes very happy, she smiles. And although I love her and give her gifts, and she doesn't come and she puts me in trouble. Something like that I said. I don't remember exactly what I said. That lady, she must be about 50 or maybe 55 years old at that time. She looked at me for some time, then said, "Shall I tell you something? When you give something to somebody, don't mention it afterwards." What was she saying? Because I had said that I am giving her so many gifts and still she is putting me into trouble. That lady, uneducated, very poor, she gave me this advice, saying that I was very young. So she was saying that, "Didi, please don't if you give something as gift, don't mention it." Such a revelation. And I think that was a step towards purity, because I felt that, really, I should not. And ever after it remained as a treasure with me. So this is how. If somebody tells you, she had pointed out some defect in me. that, oh, why are you saying you have given gifts and you are mentioning that you have given gift? She told it in a very nice manner, but it amounts to that only. I could have got annoyed. I could have scolded her, that why are you saying like this? But since the aim was to become pure, anything and everything, whatever we hear as comments also, we should take it as a blessing. Okay. I always feel, devotees, they write letters to Swamiji, phone Swamiji, they will announce some good things happening in the family, somebody's daughter's marriage or son's Upanayanam, all these things. Some people, they write about the progress in seeking also. But mostly, I have not found anybody writing to Swamiji, Swamiji, I find these are my traits which I want to remove. How to do it? I am not able to do it myself. A sincere seeker should ask the Guru. Okay? Sampurnam Jagadeva Nandanavanam Sarvepi Kalpadrumaha Gangam Vari Samasta Vari Nivaha Punya Samasta Kriyaha Vacha Prakrita Samskrita Shruti Shiro Varanasi Medini Sarvavasthitirasya Vastu Vishaya Drishte Parabrahmani Sarvavasthitirasya Vastu Vishaya Drishte Parabrahmani. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru.